This is iRacing.
Sometimes when you get amazing racing, you sit down and you say, just how aggressive do you have to be to go and pick up a championship? We're in the money rounds now of the season, round 10 of 12. And as we sit with just 3 rounds to go, F1 and F2 standings here when it comes to racing action in the classic Lotus Grand Prix series could not be any tighter. We head to a circuit which is known for being difficult. It's America's green hell, and it's the Virginia International Raceway. Jake Sperry and Joey Atterbury bringing you the action here today on both iRacing and the Global SimRacing Channel. Joey, it's a pleasure to have you along for the ride, but VIR, a circuit which tests the very best with the very tight and technical opening to a lap like this, but also that fast-paced overtaking section down Madison Avenue to the roller coaster.
I love this racetrack, Virginia International Raceway. You know, I lived by it for nearly 10 years. I got a ton of personal experience around it. The only thing I don't have personal experience with today, Jake, is a Lotus 79, actually.
Yes, and for those who are looking around today, trying to get a car to work from 1978 and hoping they don't have a car with brakes that feels like it's from 1972, let's go and get ourselves a good look at our GSRC track guide, which will show you all the pitfalls of what VIR has to offer.
Welcome to Virginia International Raceway. Only a short trip away from the state's border with North Carolina, this track has had the rare blessing of being resurrected from the dead. After closing for a quarter century, once it was rebuilt, it quickly began to draw major sports car series to its halls. The new owners didn't skimp on refurbishing the place either. An impressive 5 versions are available on iRacing with a range between 1 and 4 miles in length between them. With that much pavement, the plethora of corners have earned some colorful nicknames. The horseshoe kicks things off right away with a never-ending double apexer that tends to suck the greedy out into its runoff. Later on, the climbing S's force you to thread the needle before spinning you out into the steep drop at South Bend. Then, of course, there's Oak Tree, which sadly no longer sees its namesake landmark on the inside of the turn, but still retains its frustrating difficulty. Let's not forget one of the scariest obstacles at the end of the lap, the roller coaster. The incredible speed drivers carry up into this blind braking zone is what causes it to require such immense bravery to get the most out of the lap. While passing can be tricky here, the long backstretch nicknamed Madison Avenue and the lengthy front stretch do tend to offer enough of a draft that you can still give a go at a pass. Still, track position is usually an important factor in most races. With the picturesque backdrop of the Appalachians around them, fans are not left wanting when they come to watch drivers face off at this historic track. It's no wonder the circuit has found success in its second chance at life.
There's a reason why VIR is known as America's Green Hell, and the reason why is because it is one of the tougher challenges out there. One of the original circuits that came to iRacing all the way back in its inception. We head ourselves to Alton, Virginia, which is just about 1 mile away from the border with North Carolina. So a circuit which you look at today and say, how difficult is it? It's technically 17A corners out there because 17A is the final corner, Joey, but a track of this length, 5.26 kilometers, it tests every part of a driver.
Yeah, 3.27 miles, and like you said, 17 turns officially, but yeah, there's some 5A complexes as well as the S's, and couple key areas. Turn number 1, also known as the horseshoe, a pretty big passing opportunity because it does have that big brake zone at the end of the front straightaway. And then sector number 1, pretty technical and relatively slow speed. Be careful of turn number 3, NASCAR bend. You have to really kind of dance the car in terms of the vehicle dynamics in order to get the speed out of that section. Then up through the climbing S's, also known as 7, 8, and 9. South Bend, turn number 10, all the way at the very, very top of the hill over there. That's my favorite section of the racetrack. And then, of course, going down that long back straightaway into the roller coaster section, Jake. It's a huge brake zone on the end of that back straightaway, but it's actually pretty tricky getting into that complex to make the pass.
It will be tricky, it will be difficult, and we will be keeping our eyes on it. What we'll also be keeping our eyes on is the championship standings as they go into today's running. So for the top category out there, which is F1, for those who have more than 2,500 iRating, it is Togo Hesada who is on top, but only by 7 points. Pauli Kapatina not here today, so this is a huge opportunity for Hesada to pick up points, with Jack David Spickett third, leading a slew of talented drivers, including Philip Kunhardt, Nick Thyssen, Jono Freacher, the legend, Timothy Reed there in 7th position, and Dylan Freckleton able to be close in 8th. You then got Kartik Pai, who is in 9th position overall, and just 2 points back of him, Kjell Einar Svensson, who rounds out the top 10 currently in the F1 standings. Joey, F2 will be just as interesting as an affair, but because we got a split here today in terms of our field, we might not see very many runners from this category.
Yeah, the only difference between those F1 and the F2 driver standings is actually the iRating for each of these drivers. So these are drivers under that 3,000 iRating mark, and Connor Levy a narrow 3 points ahead of Aaron Blair right now. So everything's available for that top spot, and then a little bit of a gap back to Ben Summers, another little bit of a gap back to Kurt Clapper, but he's in a nice battle with Yanni Lehman inside that top 5. And then it really tightens up between Keith Herner and Luke Raspudik. You see only 2 points separating those drivers. And then another good battle for what is 8th place with Cristiano Coraini and Byron Long, Juan Mi rounding out the top 10.
Yep, Semenyo there, who is in 10th position, will be quite happy about the way that his season has gone so far. But if you are brand new, you're here for the first time, there's also a teams championship here in this series where Martini find themselves on top, the combination of Keith Herner and Aaron Blair, dealing with the Ferrari of Jono Freacher on his own, and TVR Racing of Dylan Freckleton on his own in 3rd position. Parmalat find themselves in 4th ahead of Northern Winter Racing. Following that is Olympus and Samson in 6th and 7th. Then it's the Vorsteiner Arrows team in 8th, the combination of Vandenberg and Coraini in what is 7th and 8th, with a keep in 9th, and McLaren rounding out the top 10, 418 points adrift as it stands. But there is still some amazing action to talk about, and it comes in the form of what this race is going to be about here, Joey, because when you sit down, you watch what you've got to navigate through over the course of a season. It doesn't change too much here in round 10 of 12. 22 laps worth of action, open setups for everyone to try and work out, no spare car to save you, a drive-through at 17 incident points, and disqualification at 25.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're going to be doing here around this VIR circuit, but it is so fast out here. I don't think we're really going to have to worry about those incident limit much. If you go off here at VIR, you're probably impacting another driver or at least making it to those tire walls, especially with how fast these Lotus 79s are. I have a feeling it's going to be more of a medium downforce race here, Jake, which means up through the S's, they are going to be hauling.
They will be, and it's going to be about keeping that high speed up through the higher sections of circuit, so going up the hill over towards the Oak Tree Corner, which used to be immortalized here in iRacing for a number of years after they chopped the tree down to help with visibility, and of course the tree roots which were starting to grow underneath the circuit here at this Virginia International Raceway. But let's take ourselves down to circuit where there's just a minute left here in qualifying, and at the moment it's a case of Togo Hisada on top of the qualifying times. You can see Jensen Marlowe looking to charge over towards the line in a mock-up Red Bull, hoping that this is going to work. We'll see what it is over the line. 35.5. That's good enough to go to 9th, and for good measure, blew the engine over the line as well. Ben Summers will be the last car out there who can set a representative time, and Joey, we'll see what that time is as he crosses.
Yeah, the start-finish line is pretty far down this bend here at VIR. Let's see what he registers, a 140.9. So, unfortunately, it's going to keep him there in the 20th place position. And I think that's actually going to do it for qualifying. I think there's about 10 seconds left on the board, but no other cars running on track.
Yeah, which means 2 drivers have failed to qualify in this race and they'll have to go from the back. But it is the driver who leads the championship who has got the pole position. Togo Hisada has that on a 134.797. Kjell Einar Svensson will join him on the front row, with Dylan Freckleton starting in 3rd position. Jerno Frietscher will go from 4th. It's a very close field from what is 3rd on back, because you've got Sergio Fernandez in 5th and Nick Thyssen in 6th position, all of them split by just half a tenth of a second. Timothy Reed makes it 5 within a tenth in 7th, with Jensen Marlowe, who we saw in 8th. Taylor Lane starting in 9th, alongside Jack Wells, who rounds out the top 10.
And across the page is Sean Langton starting in the 11th place position. Daniel Gallus lined up next to him there in 12th. Barry West, the big cat, in 13th, with Tommy Kujala in 14th back here. Lars Teed in 15th, with Jeanette in 16th. Mikhail Zabala starting from 17th, with Aaron Blair in 18th. Kurt Clapper 19th, and Ben Summers rounding out your top 20.
Just 2 cars behind that, and they are separated by their iRating, which you can indicate by the number that you join in on an iRacing official server. Janne Lehmann with the number 15 car out there. Matthew Cockerham has the number 19 car, which indicates that Lehmann has more iRating than Matthew Cockerham. But they have 2 minutes to get themselves gridded up, and keep an eye on the temperatures here today. It's a little bit toasty, 42 degrees Celsius out there on track. So they are going to be dealing with a car that has a little bit of understeer to work with as they line up around the final corner and get themselves ready to start. We are just waiting on the drivers in the 3rd row of the grid. So that is both Sergio Fernandez and Nick Thyssen. They join together, and now 22 laps is about to commence here at VIR. Who is going to master America's green hell, green flag in the air? And we are underway. It's a pretty good start by Kjell Einar Svensson, who will look to immediately challenge Togo Hisada round the outside. Jerno Fritz had a good run. Spinners in the back then as they go through. What a launch around the outside then. Drive off the exit's going to be needed. Kjell Einar Svensson leads.
Nice move around the outside of what is turn number 1. So Togo Hisada now has to slot into the 2nd place position. That purple car in 3rd is Dylan Freckleton. You see side by side a little bit further back through 4, through turn 5, and enter the lower part of the S's known as the Snake.
Oh, Marlowe's off the road. So Jensen Marlowe, I think, has got damage and has actually towed it back to the pits and said race over. So Jensen Marlowe is out after just 4 corners. They rise up over here through the S's section, looking towards that south bend, which is the most committed corner out here on this lap, and charge up over the top of the hill towards the Oak Tree corner. This double apex turn in right that leads them back down Madison Avenue, and charging away again. Frietscher we focus with in 4th position, because look behind, Nick Thyssen, who is no stranger to finding a good run in Classics machinery, looks to the outside, heading over towards the roller coaster, just doesn't have enough straight line.
And that's a good example. It's kind of the inside line going into it, but you're right, it's the outside line in terms of the actual turn of 14A. So that's that tricky brake zone up at the end of the back straightaway. Do you want to be drivers left? Do you want to be drivers right? Ultimately, you want to be next to him so that way you can do that out-braking maneuver. But here, 14 turns, I should say 17 turns done. 1 lap, got 21 more to go.
Yeah, which means that they are going to be ticking down the laps and trying to give themselves as much margin as they need at the front. Some movers then in the early stages. Sean Langton up 2 off of the start of this race. Ben Summers has got 4 in the back pocket on the early start, so that's going to be some good work. We focus with Timothy Reed, then running through the right hook out there on track, now attacking the snake, where you just need to be a little bit patient on the throttle, and then you can straight line and get this lovely launch under the entrance to the circuit there, that bridge, and up over around the S's section. Some lovely hotels there on the left-hand side, as once was illustrated in Top Gear, but now over the top. Timothy Reed close to the back of Sergio Fernandez, but just not close enough to get a pivot. It's about drive off the exit, look up in front, because suddenly Dylan Freckleton, who has really come on leaps and bounds this season, is now going to put himself in a bit of a sticky situation. Here comes Journo.
Yeah, he's looking to the inside here. I should say drivers left on Dylan Freckleton. Crucially, he's got the top-end speed. Does he have the braking performance? Dylan takes it in so deep. He's on the right side of the road. Now Nick Thisson's going to try to join the party, but going to have to get back single file here through what is hog pen. Hit this compression, get the drive off of the corner. I thought that Freesia might have had that pass done on Dylan Freckleton, but Jake, typically we see Dylan kind of roll around in a little bit of a higher downforce setup. I think that provided him some really good grip in that brake zone.
I think it really did. We've also got Aaron Blair, who's down in the pits, and he's second in the F2 Championship, so he's not going to score today out there in this race. This is why, so this was right off the start of the race, got a fantastic launch, tried to thread the gap, and then suddenly the gap completely closed. I'm not sure who that was. I think it was the 16 car, or maybe the 18 car of Mikhail Zabala, who was there turned around. So ultimately, a very, very tough start to the race there, and not what you'd want to be dealing with if you're Aaron Blair.
It's a tough position to be in when you try to squeeze up the middle. And remember, these cars do not have fenders on them, so anytime you make that wheel-to-wheel contact, can be very dangerous. Oh, a little bit off the track there from Freesia. I actually think that Freckleton went a little bit wide. Freesia kind of followed him out wide, but this purple car now has a train of about 6 or 7 cars. Hungry hippos back here trying to get around that number 6.
Well, it's always scary when you go half a car width off the circuit, and Nick Thisson's got a monster run. Pulls over to the outside, hits a wall of air, and tries to go the long way around. Doesn't quite manage it there. Journo in the mock-up Ferrari holds himself stationary as Nick Thisson now looks behind, because you've got Fernandez there, and Timothy Reed and Taylor Lane and Sean Langton. They're all there. A horrible hog pen comes along for Sergio Fernandez, and now here comes the chance for Timothy Reed from Club Atlantic, moving to the outside then, heading towards that horseshoe at turn number 1 again to start lap 4. Outside line looking, use the 300-yard marker as a place to go and make the lunge. Tiny little bit of contact there, and sneaking up the inside tries Taylor Lane. Now the NASCAR bend comes into play. Can you get it done around the outside? Oh, Taylor, what a pass!
That was greatly read by Taylor Lane there in that black number 12 car. A little bit loose there through that section, so it's just going to allow Timothy Reed to be right up on the back of the gearbox here, applying the pressure, but there's nowhere to pass going up into this upper S's section. This is actually my favorite place on the racetrack. It is flat out. Jake, I'm seeing 170 miles an hour is what these drivers are doing. And yes, they are decelerating up through the S's, but they're not lifting off the throttle. That was a huge moment and save from Taylor Lane. He's going to try to fight back, but he is off the racetrack. Somehow is able to put the throttle down. Let me tell you, that does not happen at VIR, but here in the sim, he was able to make that work.
It doesn't happen at VIR. Held on to a helter-skelter moment of it. Had 2 tires, all 4 off the road there at the Oak Tree. Still was able to slide around the outside and still can't get it confirmed. Heading to the roller coaster there, side by side in front as well. Lane just about with a bit of wheel rub between him and Reed holds the place, and in front of that, Nick Thisson's finally got his man, because Journo Freesia has gone a little deep into the corner after contact with Dylan Freckleton, and as such, moves are made. Yanni Lehmann also getting a pass. There is the Finn, and that's a pass on, I believe, Mikhail Zabala.
So this is back up to that 3-pack we were just watching. Timothy Reed as well as Taylor Lane include Sean Langton. That was the driver that Jake was just mentioning, that white car. He's 3rd in line with that bright yellow helmet. And then also Jack Wells, the fourth car. Oh, a little bit wide there from Taylor Lane. That's going to open up the door here for Timothy Reed going into what is turn number 4 and 5. Looks like Tim is going to hang on to it. Just keep it on the racing line here. Feed the throttle in and accelerate out through the S's.
I'll tell you what, that SimShop livery there behind from Langston looks very similar to the likes of the old Heskeths that you used to see in Formula Racing. Fantastic out there as Thyssen now climbing up over the hill. Looks to try and attack Dylan Freckleton for the final spot on the podium. They've already allowed 3 seconds away to Togo Hesada and Kjell Einar Svensson, who leads this race outright. But again, onto Madison Avenue, passing there the southern pits on the left-hand side. There are 3 different pit lanes here. There's also one for the Patriots course on the inside. But here comes Thyssen, who gets the launch. The difference about 4 kilometers an hour in a straight line. But Freckleton, unafraid to throw the car down the inside on the brakes. He has got so much confidence in that left foot of his.
I think it comes down to those downforce levels. And here in the sim, in iRacing, if you've got 1 click more rear wing than somebody else, it really provides you that confidence, the grip going into those brake zones, the grip to roll the apex speed through, but it doesn't allow you the top speed. And right here is a good example. Gernot Fries's got a front row seat. Freckleton slides a little bit wide there in the apex. This could be an opportunity for Thyssen. He puts the power down and is able to clear the purple machine.
Yeah, Freckleton had to open up the steering, and that was enough. Could have put the power down. This car really spools up with that Ford DFV Cosworth engine, waiting for that opportunity to put all of the torque down in those chunky rear tyres, and that was just enough to give the launch away. And now Gernot Friescher, I think, is going to have a huge look out there. But I look around right now and I say, what more can you do? Because I think that Kjell Einar Svensson, don't tell me he's dropped. Not now, after leading this race so flawlessly through the opening 5 laps of this race. Oh, that's heartbreaking.
And it's not a drop, Jake. I don't know if it was a hardware problem or what, but he was going into the uphill S's, and all of a sudden the car hooked right. It didn't look like a wheel malfunction, but he definitely drove it off the racetrack to the right and hard into the wall.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. We might be able to get a chance to see it, but I didn't see all of it. Kjell Einar Svensson then is effectively going to be out of this race, and that could be something as small, really, Joey, as just a loose USB connection.
It really could be. So let's just say it is a hardware issue. Now, we deal with hardware issues all the time in real-world racing, whether it be from a failure on a suspension component, a brake issue, if you start getting a long pedal. It could even be an ECU issue. Now, we don't have those failures built into the simulator over here, but we do have issues of our own with our PCs. Like Jake was just saying, a USB connection. It could be a software connection. Here's the replay of the incident, and you see Jake, he just kind of drifts off driver's right, and when he goes and hits that berm, it's game over.
There's nothing you can do in that scenario, and it's heartbreaking to see that because he's been inside the top 10 in the championship. He's having a career day here today, and suddenly Togo Hesada has been given an absolute free kick here to be out and clear by what is 4 seconds now at the front. Nick Thyssen second, third is Dylan Freckleton, then Gernot Friescher and Sergio Fernandez, your top 5. We go back to Jack Wells here in 9th position, looking at Sean Langton for a place, and now this would be for 8th place on the road. Langton with a good enough run, but talk about the rubber band, because that's important. Every one of these drivers has about 1 second to 1.5 seconds of slipstream. If you're outside of that, it snaps. Gernot is hoping that he can get the move done on Dylan Freckleton, but again, he's tentative on the brakes every time he chucks it in here at VIR to the roller coaster. He's been bitten once, which was allowing Nick Thyssen through. He doesn't want to get caught out again that way.
VIR is a tricky circuit that you oftentimes have 2 different setups. You usually have a qualifying setup that's a little bit of a different downforce level versus your race setup. Now, it's not as dramatic of a difference as, let's say, Road America, where we really see the horsepower become king over there in the race. But at VIR, you need the top-end speed to get down these really long straightaways. The problem after those really long straightaways, it's not just one corner. It usually feeds into several corners, and if you've got the higher downforce levels, you can actually pull away through those complexes. So it really is a two-edged sword out here. Is what do you want, the top-end speed to potentially be able to make the pass, or would you rather have the confidence, the grip in the car to be able to go and be aggressive on the brake pedal like we see Dylan Freckleton be able to do today?
Well, there is Gord Janot, who sits in the middle of this group, there with Lars Tida in front and Kurt Clapper behind, not quite having as much of a career day as Gordie Howe would have done back in the day of ice hockey, but certainly hoping to try and get himself not the Gordie Howe hat-trick, which would have been a goal, an assist and a fight.
Okay, yeah. No, you're going to take it there. That's fine. Yeah, you know, I was throwing some references out at Joe Peak this past week, Jake, and he had no idea what I was talking about, so it's only fair game that the shoe is on the other foot now.
Absolutely. Janot, though, having a good run. 14th position at the moment. Up 2 places. Tida, up 2 places. Clapper, up 4 at the moment and trying to make it 5 out there. If you can get this pass done along Madison Avenue, taking this run to the roller coaster, lifting very early out of the throttle as he runs into the corner. So not much that Kurt Clapper can do except watch this space and try and find a way through. Already, blink and you miss it, we're a third of the way through this race. It has gone lightning fast out there as we'll take a little look here at Taylor Lane, who goes through the snake and very much gets caught out of it.
Woo!
Hold on. Whoa, Nelly.
You know, that's twice this race that we've seen the VIR grass in iRacing be extremely friendly, once down at Oak Tree and then once leaving the snake there in the lower S section. Jake, that's typically not a save that you see done here at VIR. Once you get into the grass, it's not the ice grass that it used to be, but usually you're carrying a lot of speed and you don't recover from those. I'm pretty impressed with the drivers and their fast hands today.
Yeah, they have lightning quick reactions, and it goes to show how much time and hour and dedication gets put into this series and how you have all of the tools available to learn the cars, learn the tracks, each and every week. Freacher, who seems to be a broken record at the moment. If he could look over at Dylan Freckleton, he'd see the face of Bill Murray there alongside him, because it would be Groundhog Day at this moment. Freckleton again around the outside, tries Journo Freacher. Again, he locks up an inside front. Again, he can't get it done.
Gernot needs to try and turn number 1. He's obviously not getting it done on the back straightaway, but it's a much longer straightaway to be able to close in that slipstream. So here's the problem that he's got here on this side of the racetrack. He's just not close enough to make the move on Dylan. So maybe it's just forcing Dylan to try to be on the other side of the racetrack going into that roller coaster section to be able to provide him possibly a better run going down onto the front straightaway. But we obviously know the move into 14 isn't working. You got to look somewhere else.
Yeah, everywhere you start searching, you hope that you find there is a place. And I would look around and say that maybe, just maybe, you've got to go for the slower speed corners out there. Very difficult to make it happen, but if you can hold a good run out of turn 1, I think Journo Freacher's got to be looking at somewhere like the NASCAR bend and the left hook as places where he can try and surprise for a move. But Journo Freacher used to be a driver, part of the 9K iRacing Club. He's lost a couple thousand over the years, but there was once upon a time in this series where Journo Freacher was nigh on unstoppable for about 3 years straight, and he's got 3 times as many race victories in this series compared to his next nearest rival.
Let's see what he does down the back straightaway and if that experience pays off here. So typically he's been going drivers left, and Freckleton not allowing the lane on drivers right, so it forces Gernot to go drivers left. I like this. He backed out of it before the brake zone. He's going to try to stay tucked up on the rear wing, but actually loses about a car length there at apex. But Jake, here we go. This is actually closer than he's ever been going into this roller coaster section, going through Hogpin. This might be the opportunity into turn number 1.
Well, here comes turn 1, and they've lost contact to Nick Disson, who is 2 seconds down the road. So Journo all the way to the inside, moves back to the outside, trying to get large in the mirrors. Hope that there's a case of trying to move Dylan Freckleton around the track and have any form of instability there in the TVR. But once again, moving to turn 2 and 3, Journo Fritzsche, just a passenger, can't find a way through, and they're queuing up behind. Fernandez and Reed find themselves in a position now where they'd quite like a podium if they can work a way through, as they take a look from behind on what will be at the end of this lap, halfway in this race. Dylan Freckleton has been mightily impressive in the way he's been defending.
All right, so let's come up with plan C here. It's not going to get done in turn number 10. Just no way Jose there for Fritzsche. I'm looking towards 14 again. We know that he can't pass it around the outside, but maybe if he can force the issue. That was a little bit deep there going through Oak Tree. Now he's going to have to look in the mirror because Sergio Fernandez in that black number 4 car is already up along driver's right side. Remember, that's where we saw Dylan Freckleton be able to defend the positions. Is Gernot Fritzsche in trouble from not 1 but 2 cars here?
Well, he'll try and defend, and he goes aggressive here to try and hold around the outside, but Sergio Fernandez has the number sorted, coming out of the roller coaster. Move done, move made. Fritzsche dropping down now, and Timothy Reed will eye it up. That's a poor hog pen, and suddenly it opens up again. Suddenly taken out of the rhythm through one bad corner, and it all started actually at the South Bend, where he got so wiggly off the exit, it sent a chain reaction for half a lap. I've never seen him so rattled out there before, but Timothy Reed straight down the inside, now needs to drive off the exit of the horseshoe and gets it.
Nicely done there. It reminds me a lot of GT racing. He leaves the door open. This is great racing between these two, between Tim and Gernot out here, leaving room at apex. They are not banging wheels. They are not running into each other, still side by side. A little bit of net code there forces Gernot to kind of pop up in the air, but I don't think there's any damage. He's right back onto the racing line, so they still survive to battle it out for the next half of the race.
They pop it up with tyre-to-tyre contact. That won't be helpful for Gernot Fritzsche, and immediately he'll look to try and get back on the offensive. Has to lift then through the South Bend, and as such, patience once more needed. Gernot back down to 6th position is the Austrian in a Ferrari, and you can get shades of Niki Lauda hearing that out there at this moment in time, but well played by Timothy Reed to hold that station and say, you cannot get much closer than that. So there are the dramas that are befalling those who look to try and push, and every group now has formed a pack of 2 or 3 out there on circuit. There's not many cars out there together now. It's close. I'd say next closest group behind this, Jack Wells, Taylor Lane, and the lap down Kjell Einar Svensson, who's on the back of this, so they are chasing down Sean Langton.
It is kind of amusing how they've formed these packs of 2, and as I say that, a little bit further back, this is a pack of 4 or 5, although they are separated a little bit, I believe, by Svensson here, who is reconnected. Is that what I see, Jay? Because he had the disconnection, and now he is back out on the racetrack. I'm surprised that the car doesn't actually have any damage.
Yeah, I think he got away with it before he actually made contact with anything. So he gets away before that happens. But crucially, he's dropped an entire lap out there. There is Tommy Kallio-Kyala out there, and he's in a bit of a scrap right now because he's trying to find a way through on car number 11. That's Daniel Gallis that he's trying to find a way through in the absolute vintage JPS special the Lotus out there. A livery so iconic, they ran it for a decade.
So we feed our way up into these uphill S's. You see Tommy trying to find a way around. Let's get this replay of here. What happened to Mikhail Zabala? Oh, no. That's actually a pretty common one coming out of turn number 10. You get loose up at the exit there, have a big old tank slapper, and unfortunately there was another car kind of just collected into it.
Yeah, no, that's never good. And the car behind, that was Janne Lehmann, who was caught up there in that contact. Nowhere to go for Janne, who ends up across the car and sliding. Jack Wells now having to really throw a move at it, but he's lost out. Taylor Lane getting it done, and behind Daniel Gallis having to play defense and loses out. Tommy Kallio-Kyala moves through. That puts him +4 and into the top 10.
Nice move there and up into the top 10 like you were saying. Check out this battle here. Jack Wells, Taylor Lane. Remember, Taylor Lane, he was a little bit further up forward in the field earlier in the race, but had a couple little incidents and has now slid his way back into 8th place. He's looking to try to rebound from that, score some fast laps, and maybe suck up that 1.5 second gap that he's got between himself and Sean Langton up the road.
Yeah, he's got about a second or so that he's got to try and chase down, 1.3. And so the emphasis is, look at the run behind. Jack Wells has got a monster launch, and they're going to go side by side through the S's. Almost tire-to-tire contact was, oh, big wiggle. What a save by Taylor Lane. One place gone, just like that. Jack Wells, what bravery.
And now Taylor Lane is off the racetrack again, but he manages to gather it back up. He is on the sticky stuff, still sliding around a little bit in Oak Tree. That could open the door for, I believe, that Svensson behind. But remember, that's not for position. Just trying to get back on the lead lap after his early disconnect. But, Jake, what a save there from Taylor Lane to keep it all together.
Lightning fast reactions needed again, and the car is completely at its quickest when you're going through the S's. So to be able to keep it pointing in a straight line, that was huge for Taylor Lane. 2 near misses in this race, and surely a third strike and he'd be back to the dugout.
Well, hopefully he doesn't I'm sorry, I can't spit out the words today, Jake. Hopefully he doesn't make it back to the dugout or the paddock, whatever you want to call it, here at VIR as we ride on board with this orange and white number 7 car. Of course, he's looking directly forward at this battle between Taylor and Jack. Got to say that he's being patient. I think that Svensson knows exactly the position that he's in, and he's got a battle directly in front of him. He doesn't want to go interfere with it, but he still wants to go and have fun on the playground.
Representing Norway there, as you can see on the dash, just to make sure. Club Scandinavia is what it's known in iRacing, which is the culmination, I believe, of Denmark, Sweden, and, of course, of Norway. Finland would normally be considered Scandinavia, but Finland have their own category out there in iRacing for clubs. So Club Finland, for those who know, very strong when the iRacing World Cup came to town. Off the road again. In front goes Taylor Lane, and it's a case of being bitten again and again and again and sliding about. Now, surely you're just going to have to let Svensson go through, but Svensson remembers a lap down and doesn't want to interfere, so it's going to let that one go as they continue. Keep an eye out for 3rd place, because Dylan Freckleton here as Freacher side by side once more, as Timothy Reed has to defend the line. Going down the hill, does just about enough to cover it off. I was going to say, still on for the podium, still on here right now for 5th and 6th.
Yeah, like you said, Fernandez on the back of Freckleton, Freesia on the back of Reed. So good 2 packs of battles up towards the front of this field. And Jake, I know in drag racing, what do they call it, VHT, that they spray down there on the launch section of the racetrack to really get that grip. I forget what they call it in NASCAR, what they kind of spray that adhesive to gain the grip on the alternate lines. It almost seems like here at VIR, they've gone ahead and sprayed all the grass around the racetrack today.
Yeah, it does look like that. You're able to just about hold it together on the outside of the circuit, and it just about allows you to hold everything in play. But for the moment, Sergio Fernandez looking to try and chase down, hoping to try and get that podium place and make that happen. And here in the bone-dry conditions, we've seen how close it is. It's almost like they need a little bit of water to hit the circuit to make it even more dangerous. And one of the things to note here, Joey, is the introduction of Lotus 79 rain tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy you brought it up. That was a little bit of a slip up there from Freckleton. Then Oak Tree, we've seen that out of several drivers, just kind of pushing the limit going in, and all of a sudden you can't get the car wound up. But we've seen Dylan stick to the right side of the road, down the back straightaway, and be so confident on the brakes going into turn number 14. Let's see if he's able to defend from Fernandez. He doesn't even push the issue in the brake zone. He's going to try to do an over-under literally underneath the rear wing of that purple number 6 car. He's got to look towards the front straightaway now. But yeah, Jake, we do have the introduction of rain tires in this new build for the Lotus 79s.
And that's going to be huge as Togo Hesada at the front sets the fastest lap of the race, a 1:35.298. Freckleton has been doing so well. And actually what I think he's been doing the best, Joey, is standing up every opponent he's had by running deep in on the brakes, holding the inside every time they run into that fantastic roller coaster corner and saying, no, you wait until I put the power down before you can leave the corner.
He's driving to the strengths of, first of all, his driving style, and second of all, the car, right? If he knows that he doesn't have the top end speed, well, he's got to park it at the end of those straightaways and then essentially accelerate his way, leave everybody in the dust through these turns and through the more technical bits. But you just have to drive your car. If you've got the top speed, it's best to park it going out onto the straightaway so that way people can't get the run going out onto there. But you see Freckleton here really drive through these slow speed corners and then just try to hang on down the straightaway till we get to the next bit of twisty stuff.
Well, it's not 2 and 2 now. This group is suddenly coalescing together. It's now 4 who want to go through fighting for this one spot on the podium. And there is car number 1, highest I rating in the field, 7,200. Jerno Fricha, who's very happily going to put himself into a place where he wants to make things happen out there. Reed is there, Fernandez is there, Dylan Freckleton wants to make sure that he holds on and they can completely forget P1 and P2. Nick Thisson's gone, Togo Hesada is gone. It's just these drivers, one spot on the podium, and Sergio Fernandez in the prime position to try and get this done. But through the horseshoe at turn number 1, patience still needs to be found.
It's pretty impressive, the drive from not only Fernandez, Reed, and Fricha, but remember, they were falling back about 2 seconds, maybe even 3 seconds when they got scrapping amongst themselves a little bit earlier. So they've been able to close back in the gap to Dylan Freckleton. And it's clear that Freckleton maybe doesn't have the fastest race car, but in terms of the strategy, he is executing exactly what he needs to do right now. He's still hanging on to that third place overall position. Doesn't have anybody in front of him in terms of dirty air to affect how he has to approach the racetrack and where he wants to be aggressive. It is all in the hands of everybody else to manage to get by this immovable rock.
Yeah, it is a case of unstoppable forces meeting immovable objects right now, and you can't get more unmovable than Dylan Freckleton out there on track. But now, here comes Sergio Fernandez thinking about it. Can I pull to the outside? Can I make that move? No is the answer, so they'll take a natural line into the corner, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And behind that, keep an eye on Jack Wells, because he's right on the rear of Sean Langton for 7th and 8th.
Yeah, it's another good spot there, about 5 or 6 seconds behind this 4-pack here. Sean and Jack duking it out. I think I also see Daniel Gallus and Tommy Kujala duking it out for the last spot in the top 10, as well as these guys a little bit more aggressive down the front straightaway. Freckleton directly in the middle of the road. That provided a possible opportunity. And yeah, here comes Timothy Reed. Actually, both of the red cars, they got underneath Fernandez there and able to snag away that position.
It was just 2 tires in the grass there, Joey. That was enough for Sergio Fernandez to lose that place. And crucially, when you get 2 tires off at turn 1 at the horseshoe, it falls away from you. You effectively beat yourself when you get 2 tires off the road because it's off camber all the way down to the barriers.
Not only that, but the apex of turn number 1, you usually slow it down, minimum speeds in the first third of the corner, but that doesn't mean the turn actually stops. It continues around to the right. So, Jake, to your point, if you're stuck on the outside, it not only is the longest distance around, but you can't get that square shot off of the corner.
No, and you need to drive square off of these corners because you need as much power application down as you possibly can. Those tires will be screaming to say, can I have all the power put through them? You say yes, and you're not square. That car is going to squirrel around like nobody's business. Here comes Timothy Reed, though, thinking about a podium, but still can't quite get there. Started 7th on the grid, and eyeing up that podium. +4 would be a huge boon. What a run he had heading to the hog pen there. Had to think twice about throwing a lunge down the inside and running out of laps very quickly. 3 to go here at the stripe.
I think the biggest difference is we haven't seen Timothy Reed versus Freckleton. We've seen Freesia Freckleton, we've seen Fernandez Freckleton, all the F battles, but we have not seen Reed versus Freckleton. So we're going to see, Gernot getting a little aggressive. He's going to try the inside move around turn number 1. So he's on driver's right here. Timothy Reed on driver's left, the shortest distance. He's going to be able to capitalize. Gernot just can't do the over-under, didn't have the grip off of the corner.
The old Oliver twist, you've got to pick a pocket or two if you want to try and get a place made. And ultimately for Gernot Freesia, all that experience trying to get into the mindset of, can I steal a place here? No is the answer. Timothy Reed had his pocket firmly sewn shut. But now through the S's section, Freesia is absolutely flying, and they reach the top of this section of track. They now know that when they head to Oak Tree, this is where you've got to be aggressive. Drive off the exit is paramount, and again, it's decent here from Timothy Reed. It gives Gernot nothing.
Yeah, and if you're this driver, Freesia right here, what do you do? Do you act patient and wait for maybe these two directly in front to really scrap it out and open the door? But here we go, side by side. Freckleton in a familiar pace. He is going to outbrake him. And once again, just nose to tail through the roller coaster, down the hill. This is where we saw Reed get an excellent run. He's going to poke the nose again. There's just no break zone going into the hog pen section. I don't see a pass being made, but Jake, he gets a tremendous amount of traction going down the hill.
He very much does, and that means that Timothy Reed will look behind, sees that Gernot Freesia's there, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, fanning out, trying to find an angle. A little bit early on the brakes. How deep do you throw it? It's just enough there by Freckleton. Inside didn't work last lap. Outside definitely doesn't work this lap for you, Gernot. Trying to find that pass. Fernandez, a passenger on this group, and the continued struggle between 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Knowing now that Nick Thyssen has actually run himself off the road slightly. He's dropped 4 seconds on this lap with a mistake coming out of the horseshoe. That puts him pretty much in no man's land at 5.5 seconds. Do not count anything out in this race at VIR.
No, you definitely can't, especially with these 4 drivers literally running nose to tail over the past, call it 10, even half of the race here. Let's see how Freckleton is able to navigate this section. Typically, we see that purple car have lots of grip through these slow corners here. He's already standing on the gas through Oak Tree. It gets him a nice drive off of the corner, but dun-dun, cue the Jaws music. Here comes Timothy Reed in the slipstream.
Trying to find an angle, trying to find a way. Once more on Madison Avenue, making the lunge over to the inside, turned outside. Hits 273 clicks, and again around the outside. The confidence there is in full display by Dylan Freckleton. Togo Hesada will start the final lap of this race at the Virginia International Raceway. Our focus now is on this final spot on the podium, where it is all about who can have a run, who can have a go. There's been a change behind between Jack Wells and Sean Langton, and that one has happened going into the roller coaster. So Wells, with a little bit of contact, has patiently found his way through. Here's a look down the inside though. Gernot Freesia, shades of 2 laps ago, trying to pick that pocket once more. Has to go around the outside to make it happen, and again nothing there. Big slide as he goes through the middle, has to gather it up for a fear of that car being so pointy it snaps. But for the moment, it's a case of this gives the breathing room for Dylan Freckleton. This gives him the 4 car lengths that he wants, about 50 meters that is out on circuit, that he gets given of that advantage, and he will use that with every single amount of, I would say, confidence that he can possibly get through the fast flick left as they go through the South Bend for the final time. Up over the top now to the Oak Tree. How good is the drive going to be as they look to descend down the hill? Questions to be asked. Grass, though, grabbed by Timothy Reed, and Gernot Freesia will close on in. But you look over to the front where there is just a couple of corners to go. There was a lot of help out there as Freesia now pulls it to side by side. But Togo Hesada, Trophy of Katate, Nimotsu Hesada Togosan. The big win for Togo Hesada as he gets it done. Freesia gets his pass in the top right of the screen, and Sergio Fernandez is in the grass at the hog pen because he can't get by Timothy Reed. This in his second. Freckleton, a great 3rd.
What a podium from Hesada. Thyssen and Freckleton. I got to give it up for Freesia to be able to get the move done on Timothy Reed there on the very, very final lap, going side by side through what was roller coaster. See Sean Langton, Taylor Lane and company. I think Tommy Kujala also rounded out the top 10. He's going to be coming across the start-finish line right here in this yellow number 13 car. Nice drive there for Tommy. Go up a handful of positions. Round out the top 10 here. Big Cat coming around in 12th place. Daniel Gallus, Lars Janot Cockrum, and Ben Summers are going to be coming around to complete today's race.
Yeah, and a case of drivers who think what could have been another crash to desktop is what the words are said by Kjell Einar Svensson, and it does need to be a case of try and avoid that. But as the final drivers come across the line, and this is the last driver on the leading lap, quiet race, but one of +4 only overall for Ben Summers as he will make his way over to the line. I do love the way that he advertises his Twitch. It's very subtle, actually, the way he does it with the purple on the side of the car. Summers over the line and picks up then 16th place. Everybody now crosses, and we can get confirmation of results here from VIR, and it is one hand on the trophy for Togo Hisada, with Pauli Parsonen watching on with us here today, ladies and gentlemen. Togo picks it up with the biggest win of the season so far, 8.8 seconds over the line ahead of Nick Thyssen, with Dylan Freckleton rounding out the podium with some brilliant defensive driving against Jerno Fritzsche, Timothy Reed, and Sergio Fernandez. Those positions 4th, 5th, and 6th, out there overall. Late was the move from Jack Wells to get by Sean Langton, the 7th and 8th place battle, with Taylor Lane holding 2 near misses in 9th, and Tommy Kallio Kujala rounding out the top 10.
Across the page in 11th, we've got Daniel Gallus back here. Barry West, the Big Cat, in 12th place. Lars Teed in 13th spot. Gord Janot in 14th, with Matthew Cockrum rounding out the top 15. Nice job for Matt there. Go up +7 positions and actually going through timing and scoring. That is our biggest mover, is Matthew Cockrum to finish in 15th. Ben Summers back here in 16th spot. And then, unfortunately, everybody else was one lap down or had issues on the racetrack. That includes Yanni Lehman. We saw Kjell Svensson have that issue as he was leading today's race, was able to get reconnected and finish in 18th. Kirk Clapper, 19th, and then comes the first of the DNS with Mikhail Zabala back here in 20th. Aaron Blair and Jensen Marlowe rounded out our 22-car field that took place.
Yeah, there were some tough races for certain drivers whose races ended very, very quickly. We are going to get the chance, though, here to talk to some of our drivers who are here with us. First and foremost, who's jumped in with us, the driver who finished 3rd position overall, Dylan Freckleton, here right now. And Dylan, what a car you had underneath you today. It seemed every time that you found yourself at the roller coaster, you had an extra 10 meters on everyone in the braking zone.
Yeah, it worked out quite well. Yeah, I'm glad I took a little bit of wing out before the race. Yeah, just about was able to hold on. It seemed like I felt really good on the brakes into there. It seemed like I had a little bit on everyone. It was just enough to stay ahead. I made a couple of little mistakes up at turn 1. That's the place I was actually probably more vulnerable. That's where Nick got me, but obviously he had much more pace than me anyway. But yeah, really happy with that. That was brilliant.
Yep, so some wonderful driving out there, but you had some fantastic drivers in and behind you who were trying to find a way through. Timothy Reed, Jerno Fritzsche, Sergio Fernandez, they were all there. At what point did you focus on, right, let's go get the podium? Because at one point you were fighting for second, and then Nick Thyssen found his way through.
It wasn't really a case of that. I was just driving flat out with the whole race and trying to keep as many people behind me as I could. Yeah, I kind of figured podium might be possible. I was really happy with my quali lap. That's the best I've ever been in a pole in the Lotus. But yeah, it was just, trying to have the world's widest Lotus, really, for the whole race.
Well, the world's widest Lotus very much found itself with a P3 position. You've had a very nice championship, and I think you've definitely stepped up over the course of the seasons. Is what we see with the Lotus 79 Grand Prix Series, the classic Lotus Grand Prix Series, that everyone jumps up. Zolder, though, on the horizon, a much different circuit to that here at VIR. What do you think the biggest pitfall is going to be with racing in 7 days' time?
I have no idea. I've never driven Zolder, so it'll be my first time. Yeah, looking forward to it though. It's a different kind of track. Probably a bit more like some of the more classic Grand Prix tracks, a bit wider, a bit more open. But yeah, looking forward to it. It'll be fun.
It certainly will. It's Dylan Freckleton joining us there, picking up 3rd position overall here today. A walk down virtual pit lane. Joey Atterbury is with our winner, Togo Hisada.
Togo Hisada, congratulations on the win at VIR, pal.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
So you didn't get the start that you wanted. I'm going to kind of poke you a little bit. We've seen Pauli be really excellent on the starts, and you quite haven't mastered the starts yet. Are you worried about that, or are you just confident in your racing?
Yeah, just little by little, but I learn how to start this vehicle. And yes, last week and the Montreal I did enough good start, but I mistake in this broadcast race. But before the broadcast one, that was a perfect one. So still I have sometimes mistake, but sometimes it's good. So yeah, keep it learning.
It's practice. The more practice you get, the better you'll get a hang of it and eventually master it out there. So you've got kind of one hand on the championship trophy out here. Technically, we do still have 2 more races to go in the season. Do you feel confident in your position in the championship right now?
Not at all. Just probably I hear about probably missing 2 races. This one and last week, but this is still the topics, and he did 4 victories. He took 4 victories, and I took only 3. So that I have to earn 1 more. In the without him, so it's just pressure for me, but I am very happy to take a victory finally. 1 more time. So yeah, now I'm 4-4. Just we are in a low.
I know that there is a lot of pressure on you for the championship, but I think if there's one driver that can perform, I'm definitely pointing my finger at you. You're amazing out there. I think that you can seal this thing up. And Pauli was watching on YouTube today. So even though he wasn't racing with you out on the racetrack, he was definitely watching you race out there. That's going to wrap it up here. Is there anybody that you want to say thank you to?
The Global SimRacing Channel communities. Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Joey. Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, the Lotus 79 communities.
Well, that was Togo Hisada, a future Lotus 79 champion potentially in the making.
Well, he's only 2 rounds away from finding that as reality, and I think that is something really special in terms of our racing action with this classic Lotus Grand Prix series. We are not too far away from the next round. That will be in 7 days' time. It's the alternate layout, it has to be said, of Zolder. So that final chicane, which is normally a 90-degree left and right, is a lot quicker. It's only a 60-degree turn as you go through Jackie Ix. And so as you sit down at that final sector, it's going to be tough. That's on June 1st, Joey. And I look at that as a very, very big bull ring of a track. Very tough to pass.
Yeah, and especially with these types of cars out there, you got to be careful with those chicane curbs, jumping up over them. There's lots of incidents out there at that Zolder circuit. So I think point 1, survive.
As it says there, the home of DTM, very much a case of a circuit that has a lot to offer. But from the entire team that has brought this show to you, of course, here on iRacing and, of course, with the Global SimRacing Channel, Joey Atterbury has been alongside me. My name is Jake Sperry. When it comes to a championship, you are judged on how you perform in the moment. It doesn't matter whether your championship rival is here or not. It matters about the opponents you race in the here and the now. So what do you do as Togo Hasada? Well, naturally, you go and win the race because you've got the skill, you've got the talent, and you're doing it at a time of night in Japan that is so difficult in comparison to many, many other drivers who have it easier on the European or American continent. But the question remains, can he close out this season? It's one hand on the trophy, but it's just a hand. By no means is that grip secure. We'll see you in 7 days with racing action when we tackle Zolder.